Welcome to my messy life. Take my hand and dive right on in with me. It's gonna be alright. Messy imperfect life with Leigh.
Hi, friend.
Hi, friend.
Hi. I have on as I look at you, well, her name is Sara Benincasa.
Mm-hmm.
Whoop, whoop.
You got it.
And as I look at you, you're almost like a painting.
Really?
Yes, you're so beautiful. You're so like almost porcelain and big eyes and giant bosoms. And
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank you. Yeah, I took a calculated risk today, and I thought, I'm only going to put on a little bit of makeup because I've been experimenting. I love putting on makeup, but I had a lot on the other day for an event, and you know how skin gets sensitive.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's okay if it's okay. Like a lot of, I've, as I said off air, I've been sober now for 8 months, and a lot of my day-to-day work is in the seemingly simplest, most basic things. Like, now it's time to put this in the mail. It is okay to not wear your favorite tinted moisturizer, but wear a bold red lip. Like,
Oh, I love it. You're in your own infomercial / well-being mindfulness parade.
it's sort of, I think it's a process of maybe reparenting yourself and talking to yourself sometimes like a little child.
Oh, I
in
love
my experience.
I love reparenting. I got that first big time I experienced that when my daughter, my mom was mentally ill, locked behind the bedroom door. So she was there, but I didn't have access to her. And I have been reparenting using my children's bodies. So when my daughter was about 3 and she was crying really hard, and I picked her up, which didn't come natural to me with my first kid because that was not modeled for me.
I have a relative who told me they cannot remember being hugged.
Yeah.
And they're almost in their 70s now.
Oh.
By parents, by children, yes, but they became a very loving, affectionate parent as a result.
Yes. So my daughter was crying and I picked her up and was holding her. And then I thought to myself, wow, this is what it would have felt like if my mother held me. And then I was like, oh, wait a second. And I closed my eyes and I thought about my face at her age. And I went within and held her and pretended that my little daughter was me. It was the coolest thing because she was getting loved and so was I, my younger self. And I was like, oh, that's when I'd heard reparenting before, but that's when it sunk in and it became a tool for me to heal myself, no longer longing that I wish my mother would have done anything. I can do it.
That's so cool.
Right?
And for someone who had even just walking into your home and seeing how it's totally kid friendly and set up for play and fun, that's really profound to just witness as someone who's at your house for the first time. I mean, I know intellectually that you're a mom of multiple children.
A few.
But seeing it, I think that's very powerful. Like my mom was raised by a single mom who was also mentally ill, but never treated. And my mom grew up part of the time on food stamps and her dad never paid child support or anything. And she loved her dad and he loved her. But, I think my mom, as a response to being judged by her mother, she could never, do anything right. I think that my mom became an extra loving parent as a result. So I always think for people who are frightened, if they're listening and they're scared because they're about to become a mom or something. I'm not a mom, but I've seen it in so many women, yourself included, where there was an iciness or a coldness, or maybe they didn't have
or
parents.
absent. Yeah.
You can become, those are some of the most loving parents I know. Sometimes they spoil the kids so much, and then the kids are like, I don't want to
Little pigs.
They're like, whatever, you love me so much.
Just give me a lollipop.
Oh my God, I saw it with me and my brother sometimes with my mom. We were like, oh, why does she like us so much? Oh, just absurd
Oh,
teens. Such
that's
dorks.
so sweet.
It's so sweet. He's great with his son, who's 18 months old.
And I think it can go either way. I think if you're kind of asleep and not aware of your hurts and not aware of what you would have liked or how you could do it better, that most people actually repeat what they've been taught. Mm-hmm. Most people, that's how you see hundreds of years of generations of women marrying men who abuse them or women marrying alcoholic men. It's what they know It's their comfort zone, and they haven't woke, to something new. So often, unless you kind of have awareness, I think you repeat the same shit, and it gets passed down for generation to generation.
I was listening right before I came here to an audio. I love audiobooks, and I was listening to something by Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a Buddhist monk who lives in. He's from Vietnam. Originally, he was a refugee, and he has had this residence, Plum Village, in France for many years, where he teaches meditation to people from all religions and walks of life. And he said that I'm going to phrase it incorrectly, but he talked about how you are your mother and your grandmother, you are your father and your grandfather, because they literally physically contributed to making you. So you're carrying all this stuff. And what's interesting is that spiritual notion really jives with some things I've heard from the world of sort of more hard science like biology, people being more wired to carry trauma and things like that. Mm-hmm. It's just interesting. Obviously, I'm not an expert, but like I just find it very interesting.
No, I think you're an expert.
I'm an expert fan of yours. It's so nice to be here.
It is. Thank you. It is interesting. And Eckhart Tolle talks similar about the pain body, and that's made up of the entire, right now, the planet energy. Everything that's going on is in there, and all of your life experiences and all of your the lineage passed on to you. So there's all of those things that is inside of each one of us that we're navigating, not just what's in front of us. We have so much literal baggage that's inside of us.
It makes me picture a Russian doll, like a Matryoshka doll, where there's one inside the other.
Yes.
And it's overwhelming because maybe if you were beyond genius level, you could see it all at once and understand it all at once, but it's hard to contemplate it all at once. It's overwhelming. I think sometimes when people really freak out, really have a hard time, it's because they're trying to think of the answers to these ginormous, to use an expert word, questions like, how do I heal everyone's pain? Impossible things that you can't do. That's not given to us as humans to do.
Yeah.
How do I heal all my pain so that I'm happy 100% of the time for the rest of my life on this earth?
Well, that's just crock of shit.
Yeah.
That's never happening. Why?
It's never happening.
Never, and it should never happen because we're only here to be human. And to be human is, they say sin is to miss the mark. That's what we're here to do, is we're here to miss the mark so we can constantly be getting back towards the mark. And I think evolving and healing and hurting and laughing and growing and loving. And I think when that stops and we get back to, we've done what we're here to do, we go back where we came from.
Yeah.
We go back to the stars.
I think it's I was up last night crying a lot because, when people had told me, I never went to rehab or anything, but and I get very shy and socially anxious, as you know, I'm agoraphobic, so I get anxious, but I try to make myself go to meetings sometimes.
Oh, that's right. So
you're very nervous, but I try. I don't go as often as I could.
Right.
So I found a shrink who specializes in addiction. So I'm
Kick ass.
I just need you to be my I will pay you to be my cheerleader to get my ass to those meetings in those churches and veterans foreign wars halls and stuff. But I have found that I have 8 months. That's pretty early. And people had told me, and I'd seen people get sober before, and I was like, wow, so something's going on. I respected it, but I was like, it seems like it's not just about quitting, the cocaine or whatever it was, like something else is going on with you. And somebody said, it's like you're a baby vampire just experiencing your powers. And I say, it feels like you're a baby chick and somebody peeled away your eggshell like a week early. So you can move, you can work in the world, but it's like walking into the sun and you don't have your sunglasses on. And it's funny. It's not, I don't think booze is bad. I think booze is delightful. Like, I think I go out to bars with people, and I always say I'm a very powerful bartender now because I can't taste what I'm doing anymore. So I just will be like, oh, what do you need? Okay, here's a soda and so much vodka.
Are you a really bartender, or are you using a metaphor?
No. I mean, just like at parties or whatever.
Okay,
if my friend's like, hey, can you grab me something? I'm getting a ginger ale. I'm grabbing them like a gin and tonic. And suddenly they'll be like, this is really strong.
And then you say, "You're welcome."
I'm like, "You're welcome." I'm the greatest bartender of all time. I saw somebody on Instagram who wrote something like, "Wow, I think they said I have 10 years sober today. I'm so proud. I'm going to my meeting." And they were like, "And then I'll be bartending all night at blah blah blah." And then they did like smile emoji because they're a bartender who doesn't drink.
I love it
because it's not about the substance; it's about you.
I love it.
How some people process things. So it's like I can walk by a cake and not have to eat all of it, but I have friends who have to eat the whole thing and then some.
Yeah,
we all have our shit.
We all got our shit, and that's why I love that I just started this podcast, because it's about the mess. It's about the messiness, and that when people see me and they see and I am a happy person or whatever, and they have some thoughts, and then as soon as we start talking, they're like, "Oh, you're just a messy person just like me. You have so much shit just like I do.
You've been through it."
And I think that that's where we connect. And I think that so often in the mess we withdraw, right? And then we feel alone, isolated, and it adds to all the horrible part of whatever the mess is.
It's the shame on top of being imperfect and living messily, as everybody does. But then the shame on top of it is hard. It's sort of like what people say about crimes. Sometimes it's not the crime, it's the cover up. If you make a mistake or do something wrong and you go, "I'm sorry, I did this, I'm a jerk, I'm learning, I'm evolving, I'll do my jail time, or I'll go to therapy, or I'll make a compensation to my victim," whatever it may be. That kind of notion of like restorative justice, where the community gets together and figures out how to make it work so everybody can live in community together. Versus, and that's hard because you have to admit that you did something.
And you have to have the community around you who wants to be open to work with you, navigate it.
Exactly. And that believes, and in some cases it's not appropriate. In some cases, if you're too dangerous, that you should not be out in this community. But versus like somebody doing something really shady and then covering it up and then covering that up and then committing more crimes.
Yeah, and even crime being something as small as I do still cocktail. And when I'm feeling extra excited, I'll pop a few back quickly. And then I'm doing, fan kicks and splits quite often. So I'm such a wild ass. And that was something I saw when I was looking at your stuff online before. It said at the bottom of something, it said two words like, it was something like quirky and...
Maybe sassy or something
like that? No,
that?
irreverent or quirky and...
Probably irreverent.
It was something else. And I was like, oh, those are two words that describe me too. And I think that that's why I'm so attracted to you, is because we both have kind of this, I really don't give a shit what you think, or I don't give a shit of what people tell me I'm supposed to do. And I don't give a shit of what, for me, other parents say or the teachers say. I only do what moves me and what brings me joy. And there's such a freedom in that, and there's such a freak show in that.
Oh yeah, it's being a loving weirdo, being a benevolent weirdo.
Oh, I love that description.
Weird and full of love, and sometimes we make mistakes and inadvertently hurt people, but that's important. It's inadvertent, and we really try. I mean, you've been in an unfolding process for years of writing, of studying, of meditating, of praying, of sharing that online and offline. Not pretending to be perfect. I was watching this show on Netflix. I've only seen a few episodes. It's called Umbrella Academy. It's kind of like X-Men meets Watchmen, a group of kids with superpowers who were adopted by this eccentric billionaire. And it was co-created as a comic book series by Gerard Way, who's the lead singer of My Chemical Romance and is a really great writer.
You know a lot of facts. That's
I really
so sexy.
Well, I liked it so much. It was so interesting. I was like, this is great. This is so interesting. I was going somewhere with this. It's about he's not the dad is not a perfect dad. In fact, he's a fairly abusive dad, and the kids have these superpowers and they get all this attention, but as they grow up, they have trauma and difficulty. And it's looking at it, it's about a dysfunctional family.
Yeah.
And so there are moments that are weirdly relatable, even though these people are leaping over tall buildings.
Yeah, but the core, it's the same story. It's like, I think we all have the same story. We're just using different words. We all want to be loved. We all want to feel love. We all want to feel like we matter. And it's like whatever the people around us or the things we're dealing with is how we tell the story, but it's all universal. I think it's all the same.
And I agree with you. And I think that it is hard. I mean, I'm a single person who's not married and doesn't have children. And I think it's harder to be, in a sense, in the position that you and so many of my friends are in, which is that you are, when you're a mom with kids who go to school, who have friends, there's such room for judgment, that mom petition competition thing. And you have other people constantly weighing in and judging and being like, oh, okay. Like, I was talking to a friend who has 13-year-old twins, and she and her husband wanted to go out, and they have an 11-year-old, and she and her husband wanted to go out on a date. They never go out on dates. They want to go on a date. So they left the 13-year-olds to pretty responsible kids to babysit.
That's old enough.
Yeah, get each other to bed. And they did. You know, checked in, FaceTimed from the restaurant.
Yeah.
Got home, and she said she mentioned it to one of her friends who was like horrified.
Oh my gosh.
Horrified.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, these people live in a house in a lovely city in a safer neighborhood with a nice security system.
You know,
her friend was horrified.
Horrified. I found that no matter what you're doing, parent or not, even if it's kindness, people are going to find a reason to be pissed about it or it was done wrong. Mm-hmm. Always. And I remember with my first kid, my son Charlie had so many struggles, and I tried so hard. Like, I wore myself out trying to help him get play dates and fit to here and get to the right place and do all the right doctors and I remember at the beginning, before I really knew what the hell was going on, because it was my first kid and I didn't really know how difficult he was because I had nothing to ping it off of, and we couldn't get a freaking play date. And I just remember calling. Mom's like, oh, we're busy, sorry, we can't. And I just had such hurt inside of my body because I was like, I feel so excluded, what's going on? But if somebody would have said, your son is rigid, your son's kind of an ass, he's not fun for my son to play with, I would have had something tangible. But I just remember feeling like in an abyss of hell because no one would be honest with me.
Yeah, they were being passive aggressive.
Everyone.
And some of them were doing it because probably out of kindness, but misplaced kindness, and others were doing it out of just fear of conflict or confrontation.
Yeah, I think both. I think 100%. And it's just, for me, it's just I think every experience I've been through is so that I can speak to it. And I think it's so similar with you as well. It's like we got our challenges, we've got our heartaches, and then we got in it, and then we moved through it or are moving through it and sharing and helping other people with it. And I think that that's something that we both have in common, starting with your first book.
Yeah, my first book was Agorafabulous Dispatches from My Bedroom, which came out in 2012. And that was about growing up with and dealing with agoraphobia. And I wrote it because, well, I come from, my background was stand-up, and then I got into doing storytelling with this one-woman show, and then focusing way more on writing. Because my dream was always to write a book, but nobody was publishing what I wrote. So I could tell jokes on stage and see if they were good, and then I could try and write things with jokes in them and get them published. And I wrote it because when I was really suffering, and still in times when I've suffered, last night when I was really experiencing a bout of deep sadness and crying a lot, having books nearby felt like friends, or it just is something to hold on to. It's like, okay, these are people who've been through this or worse or easier, whatever, however we want to judge it, but they're still here and they wrote about it. And so that I would sleep with books in my bed.
It's like support and reminders you're not alone.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, just like, it was a pleasure to come here today and to sit down and for us to share, off air about things we're dealing with. And just because I knew, even though we haven't spent a ton of time in person, which is my fault. No,
nothing is your fault.
But I knew I was like, I don't have to pretend. I can go to Leigh exactly how I feel. I don't need to put on the right outfit or highlighter or like try to impress her, because she's going to accept me as I am, because that's what she does.
Yeah, I do accept you exactly how you are. And I do appreciate you showing up just as you are. But I, on the other hand, did put on some highlighter on my cheekbones.
Fantastic.
And some makeup because I really wanted you to say you look great. You did.
You do.
So we both showed up and got our needs met today.
We did. I'm very excited. This is a very fulfilling moment for us both. I feel great. But yeah, I was like, I can wear these random prayer beads that my friend Curtis got me and just, I love my, people express love in different ways. I haven't read about love languages, but some people do it differently. And he and I, the way we say I love you, we're friends, but sometimes we'll give a gift. And then with my friend,
oh yeah,
yeah, like here's a thing. And with my friend Catherine, we'll write each other really over dramatic cards for birthdays, you know. And then for like my mom, I'll say I love you, but sometimes I'll send her a flower or something in her favorite color. She doesn't need or want things, but I try to show. She also, like, a lot of times will just criticize the gifts that I sent, not because they're not good enough. She'll just be like, I don't want that. So finally I was like, okay.
Hers is not giving.
Yeah.
That's not her love language.
I was like, so what? Her love language is me texting and calling.
Yeah.
And if I do send something, being coded with a message that's specific for her, like she loves purple. So she knows if I send purple flowers,
That's thoughtful.
it's
Yes.
on purpose. It's not just like, okay, here's this.
Mine is touch and affirmation, and Dave's is service. So Dave would do stuff like fill up my car
Oh, okay.
and all these kind of things, but it wasn't my love language. So I was like, I don't give a shit.
It's very, I think
But
that's
for him,
awesome.
that was
Yeah.
him saying, I'm showing you I'm taking care of you. But for me, it was like, why didn't you hold my hand today? Or why didn't you tell me I look nice? You know, but we were not matching. And then somebody recommended that book and I learned, oh, his is service. I need to fill up his freaking car.
I have to read
I
that
need to
book.
rub his feet. I need to go make him breakfast. Those are actions that speak to his love language. Those are actions to me of like, I'd rather go out for breakfast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was really neat for me too to own what mine are. Wow. I need to be touched. I need your arm around me. I need you to hold your hand. I need you to put your hand up. That feels loving to me. And I need also you to acknowledge, I don't know. I think my other one, I don't know if it was an affirmation or whatever.
Like you,
It was one of
like
those.
a saying, a
Or I
loving
appreciate you, or
affirmation.
thank you for
Yeah.
coming, or I'm happy you're here, or I'm glad you're my wife, or you look pretty today. You know, like if I got all ready and he's like, we're late, let's go. I'm like, not really, but
I know what you mean.
that little letdown. Like for me, just a little compliment or something that you see me.
I have a friend who I was talking to who went through a breakup with her boyfriend recently, and she said, she's like, I learned so much, and one of the things is that he was not hugged or told I love you or told you're great as a kid, and she was. Like her family was like just delighted. Like, look at my kid, she's great. Look at our kids. She's one of 4, and she was saying that she learned with him. She would come home late from her job, and he would have cooked for her, or he would have ordered, even if he wasn't there, he would have texted her and said, you know, he knew she got to home at the same time. Oh, I have Postmates on the way, bringing you something.
Aww.
And he wouldn't say, I love you, but he would do things. That's how it was a
Yes.
very demonstrative. And that I think we traditionally, at least in our culture, associate with men a little bit more. But I have seen women do it too, where sometimes it's, you can tell by the way they brush a kid's hair back, or by the way they make sure to pick them up, or they're very soft with a baby who's fallen down.
Yeah.
But they're like harsh in other ways.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get that book and learn. I'm sure mine
It's
are
so
affirmation and
interesting. Yeah, it's interesting, and it's nice to know your thing so you can apply it to your current relationship, or if you don't have one, you're
Look for
armed.
it.
Yeah, you can bring it in.
And to understand, I think there's someone who I like a lot, who I think their love language is I don't know what the different ones are, but
Rubbing their genitals.
all over you. Yes. That
I
too.
like that love language.
That's a fun one.
I like that one.
I think it's like if there's one that's about
Is genitals
showing
just
up,
penis or vagina
oh,
too?
it's both.
That's
all
what I
of it.
thought.
It's
Okay.
it's all your junk.
Because all of a sudden I thought, is that just like nut sacks or no? It's
I think
both.
it's like, yeah, it's both.
Okay.
See, this is why I love you for many reasons, but one is it's a real adventure. You're like, we'll talk about nutsacks. We'll talk about love languages. We'll talk about spirituality. Maybe we'll talk about Jesus.
Anal sex.
Maybe we'll
Who
talk about Thich Nhat
knows?
Hanh. We'll talk about anal. Whatever. But I think this person, I think it's showing up when they say they will, and talking when they say they will. Like it's meeting agreements. It's meeting commitments. It's very
Yeah.
interesting to see. That's like really a big effort. But I see when they do it, it's to show love to their friends, loved ones, family. It's interesting.
Now you said agreements, and I read this book. I don't know if you've heard about it. Can't remember titles, but
The
it was a
4
book.
agreements? That
No,
one from
I do
years
like
ago?
that one.
Yeah, I like
but
that
I can
one.
there's only one of those that really spoke to me. It was take
Yeah.
nothing personally. And I try to remember that every day. Every time I want to get like, they didn't respond. They didn't say anything. They didn't answer my question. Instead of turning it into a story, just going, no, it's just they didn't answer your question. You don't have to make it something. Don't make it personal. But what's your favorite out of the 4?
Well, the one that I want to work on more is, I think it's be precise with your word. I think that's what it is, or be very careful about what you say.
Yeah, it's something about with the word. Yeah.
Something about being precise and clear. But that one, now you saying that made me realize, because I was feeling a little hurt recently by a friend, and I don't think it's about me. And if it is, I didn't do anything willfully wrong. So like, if a friend chooses to address an issue with you, you can listen. But if not, you can spend a lot of time making up reasons why they're not hanging out with you.
Oh my gosh. 92% of the suffering we have about friends or relationships have been created in our brain.
You're so right.
We just perceived it through our hurt little girl or our old story of not being worthy or not mattering. And that's how we see it. And then we take that in and it starts to spin in our hamster wheel, and we start to create, you can have whole fights with people. And I've had that before too, where I'll talk to someone, they're so mean to me. I'm like, what happened? They're, oh yeah, right. I'm like, oh shit. They've been spinning on a thought against me. And now I've got to either address it or not, you know? But I always want to just find out what it is, because I want to get to the root of it, where that at that moment, I didn't mean to hurt you. You interpreted it into that, but it's not what my heart was. And that, I think you said that earlier. I feel like I can say anything to anyone and talk about anything, but because it's based in love, it's received loving.
Yeah. Oftentimes, if they see that your intention was truly caring, even if they're pissed at you because it really rubbed them the wrong way, they'll oftentimes come around. I mean, that's something I've worked on with my mom is I listen to Tara Brach's podcast sometimes. She's a meditation teacher and psychologist from a kind of insight meditation Buddhist tradition back east, I think outside Baltimore, and she has this podcast.
There's
I really
so much
like.
information.
Oh, so much!
I
know.
love
I'm
it.
my
You're
mom's
an
a librarian.
encyclopedia.
I'm like, blah, blah, blah. But then, and so she talks about the sacred pause, which is I think she means different things, but one thing is meditating can help you get ready for an instance where you need to take a deep breath and just insert that pause between, you know,
reacting and responding.
Yes.
Yes.
Taking a minute and going, wait a sec. Now that came off this way in text, but did this person intend that? No, I don't think so. And even if I do, I don't have to freak out.
No, seriously, if we could pause, me included, the world would be a different place, because it gives you a minute to come back to you. And we are always, or so often, outside of us, pointing and blaming, releasing our anger on, projecting our old, you know, our stuff on to the world around us. And it's like, if you can take one breath, then you can have some ownership and go within and take care of yourself before you have to unleash what was just triggered.
Yeah.
Right?
A lot of times I think I was talking to a friend about social media, and he got rid of all his social media, and he said he's happier. I mean, his job doesn't depend on it. He's not marketing.
Yeah, yours does. And I think mine does too.
Yeah, because especially if you're teaching workshops and you're writing books and you're doing, you know, you're building a following of people who are interested in coming to events, of course. And he knows that too, but his doesn't require that.
Right.
And so he said that it has made his attention span come back more, and he doesn't feel like he's on stage all the time because he doesn't like that. And I think it's neat. I'm taking like a couple days away from it now.
What?
Yeah, it's just now. I mean, obviously when this podcast comes out, I will be promoting it. But
yeah, that's all I care. Okay, that's all. No, but you know, something that I want to ask you this, because I remember, I don't know exactly the first time we connected, but I do remember you said some kind things to me, and then we had lunch, and you were living in New York.
Oh gosh,
remember a long time ago.
That was either 2014.
Now my brain gets boggled up, so I don't have everything super clear. But will you remind me?
I bet it was, because I had moved back to New York. Like basically, I grew up in New Jersey. I went to school in Boston for a couple years and dropped out. Finished in Asheville, North Carolina. Went to New Mexico for a year to do the AmeriCorps program, teaching high school.
Cool.
Went to New York to go to grad school at Columbia to get my master's degree in teaching.
Damn,
Thought
girl.
I was a high school teacher. I didn't have the grades, but that AmeriCorps, the real world experience, let that be a lesson for anybody who's trying to get into college and worried about it, or grad school. It was the fact that I took time and had a real world job, and had real world recommendations. That helped me, because I wouldn't have gotten in otherwise.
Oh, I got to remember that for a couple of my kids.
Very helpful. Internships, real world, like people who know them, making the difference with recommendations. And so I went there, I got my master's degree. I started doing stand up at night, and then I just worked different day jobs and did stand up and was on the radio for a while. But
I want to get to the part where you liked me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we're getting there very
I just
swiftly,
really am hungry for some fucking affirmation here.
Your hair looks amazing. Your lip
No,
looks amazing.
just with that story.
Oh, that was really fun. So I get to LA.
Because I have to say, I was so excited about it because you reached out to me, said some nice things, and I was like, oh, someone out there likes me and wants to, like that validation. I was so tickled.
Good.
And then as I got to know you, I still want you to tell, but as I got to know you, I was like, I started feeling the same way about you and seeing your power and seeing you and your element and seeing you using your unique way to bring light into the world and touch the people that only you can touch with your story.
Yeah, that's what I try to do. That's the only.
It feels so damn good.
It is. It's taking your trauma and not speaking like you're the end all be all, but saying this is how I've dealt with it, or just you're not alone. Sometimes
that's the foundation of everything that I do. Is that I had that story of being all alone, feeling alone my whole life, and then I was like, oh, wait a second. Like, you can actually never be alone. Not only are we not alone, that we always have people, but we are all connected. We're all from the same source. We're all connected. Like, you can't not be alone.
Yeah.
There's a lot of double negatives in that sentence.
Which I love. I'm always like, I love a good double negative. I don't not love a good double negative. So I get to LA in 2012 after 7 years in New York. I live out here for a couple of years, write some more books. I moved back to New York, but I missed it. I was in a relationship that wasn't working. But I went back because he got a job back east. And it wasn't working for either of us. And so I was out here all the time as much as I could. And that must have been like 2014, right after I moved. I think it was at least, to my mind, it was at least 5 years ago, if not earlier. It was either 2014 or like early 2012.
And how did we hook up? Was it on Facebook or what?
Must have been Facebook or Twitter. Probably Facebook. I'm not on Facebook anymore.
I'm not that Twittery, but I was.
It was Facebook.
Facebook back, yeah.
Because I think it took me a while to get into Instagram.
Now you're like a star.
Not really, but I do have an account called Excellent Coats on Irritated Women that has a lot of followers now, which is cool.
Oh, I want to check that out.
It's fun. It's a lot of fashion. It's a lot of fashion and women who are just like badass.
So why the fuck haven't I been featured?
You
and
will
I
be
don't.
on it.
Look,
I need some.
I'm doing a lot of self promotion with you for some reason
good.
right now.
I do it all the time. I do self promotion all the time.
But you reached out to me. But we didn't really know each other.
No, I just thought you were cool. I was like, this is a special person, and that's the good thing. That's when social media is good.
Yes.
Is when you feel less alone, or you see somebody and you're like, this is a special person. I don't know what place they're going to have in my life, but I'm supposed to know them. Yesterday, I was talking to somebody who I had tea with 5 years ago, and we stayed in touch over text now and again, but never really hung out again. And he reached out yesterday, and we were talking, and I said, yeah, he asked if I wanted to hang out, and I said, yeah, because I've just always, some people shine to me,
yeah.
and who knows if it's because they seem to occupy some need that I have, or they embody something I want to be, or I get very excited. My only superpower, I say, is enthusiasm. I get very enthusiastic, and I just said, I didn't know what place we were supposed to have in each other's lives. I just knew that I was supposed to know you.
No,
and that's how
I'm
I felt.
the same. Yeah, I feel the same way about you that way. And when I see other people, when I see other people, it's almost like an it factor. And I'm not sure what the it is, but it's something about they're alive. They're alive and they're excited and they're open and they're fun and there's a level to them where I can see who they really are. It's not just any of the surface stuff that I don't have a really good time with.
Yeah.
I'm not the best with like text messages. I just go, can you be there at 2? And then I've learned, because people get triggered and offended if you don't feed them the necessary things to build them up before you ask or whatever it is, or your confirmation. So I would just send stuff like that all the time, and so I was just triggering people constantly. And then I realized how important for some people it is to get the fluff before, to get the, hi, how are you? So I would always write what I wanted to write, and then I'd go back to the top and put in kind of pleasantries.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I could honor people and not piss as many people off, but also get the whole reason I'm texting. And my thought is usually I'm like this going, oh shoot, Sarah's coming tomorrow. Why I'm in the car going somewhere. I forgot to do, I confirm with her. So I would just go, remember to go through the back gate, send. And then you're like, I haven't heard from Leigh for 3 weeks. And all she said was, remember to go through you know what I mean?
I didn't think that today, but I know what you mean.
That's just how my brain works. And I'm also like, if I don't get it out fast, it's going to be gone and I'll have missed it.
Well, you're also juggling. I mean, when you're keeping 5 humans alive or helping keeping 5 humans alive, at least, plus friends, family, et cetera, like other people who are not your humans that you helped make, that like, there's a lot going on.
There's
like,
so much going on.
I think some people exist in, I've noticed some of my friends have mom brain for years, pretty much 0 through 6. And then it starts to come. They'll go, oh, I just had mom brain for 9 months, but now I'm back, and I'm like, you have a 9-month-old. No, you're very busy. And but I think
you're nice that way and forgiving. I hate things like mom brain. I mean, I hate things that are like labeled like that, because then it's almost like that. There's that car commercial with the Flex. And they're like, this is what the cool moms drive. Oh, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I won't ever even get in one because that grossed me out so much. It's like when people get cutesy words for mom stuff. Or
like I said, mom petition earlier. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that one didn't jump out as me. That did not jump out as me as much as that last one you just said.
Well, people, and also
I've got mom brain. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Like I got 5 kids and I still have to do all this stuff.
Right.
And I don't make excuses for it. I mean, I did have a traumatic brain injury, which did mess up some of my...
Oh yeah, if you have a TBI, of course.
Yeah.
But also I just think, like, I guess a better way of saying it, which isn't making it about somebody as a mom, is that you're fucking busy. Busy.
There's a lot going on.
Right. And so I think that there's a level of busyness when you are meeting all these other people's needs.
I don't like busyness.
And you're like, so yeah, your brain, you have to juggle different things in your brain. I mean, I have a mild form of something called prosopagnosia, which is face blindness. So I have a lot of trouble recognizing faces.
Oh, I just met a guy like that.
It's interesting.
And I was like, I just made out with you. And he's like, I'm sorry, but I don't recognize you. I didn't make out with him.
You were like, listen, Tom Cruise. But I mean, coming up in stand-up, a lot of people with a similar look, in terms of, it was very popular when I was coming up in stand-up for guys to have glasses, like kind of thick glasses, and then probably
like David Cross.
Yes, that kind of David's look, but then like maybe everybody kind of had the same haircut for a while and was wearing the same Chuck Taylors when they came back. Gould. Yeah, and so I'm like, who are? And there was a lot of, I was running around a lot of white stand-up, so there's that going on, and they're indoors all the time, so they're similarly pale. So it's a lot. Yes, they're all sort of around the same height, weight, age, and so also, that's hard to distinguish.
I never forget a face, but I can't remember many facts.
I have friends who never forget a face. Names, they always forget. They just go out.
Yeah,
their
names.
Brain trapdoor.
But I always see everyone.
That's cool.
So I can see someone and go, oh, I know them. I know we had an interesting conversation. I know I've never made out with them.
Yeah.
Or I know I've never spent time with them, but I know that, I always have that. But it's just interesting how we are put together.
Yeah. I mean, prosopagnosia happens in people who sometimes it happens after a traumatic brain injury, but then sometimes it's congenital or where you're just born with it. But in either case, apparently when they do scans of the brain, there's a little fold on the brain called the fusiform gyrus. I may be saying it wrong. And it has,
I'm sure you're not.
It has like lesions in both. It'll have lesions or damage in that little. So the theory is that that's one part of what makes us really human, is that, dogs, like your dogs came in and they were just like, yay. And they were so friendly and sweet, very well trained, clearly, kudos. And they were figuring me out by smell. They came over, they weren't like staring at my face there, because that's how they communicate and identify. Yes. But humans, we have this thing, and I assume our like primate relatives do too, where they identify facial structure. And when you don't have that, I my whole life, I thought that people tended to identify people unless you have a strong emotional connection. Like, I'll never forget your face.
Right.
When I've made an emotional, someone's imprinted on me, or vice versa. Yeah. But I thought people recognize each other by gait, Gait, like the way they walk.
Oh, interesting.
The way they walk, posture, sometimes smell, which sounds weird, but if somebody wears the same perfume every time,
Yeah.
sometimes the sound of their voice, if they had a distinctive voice.
Yeah.
And my mom would help me before, well, I didn't know I had it until my 30s, but we would practice the names of relatives and describe what they looked like before we went to parties.
So she wouldn't have to go, you've got to say hi to Aunt Joan. She gets upset when
And
you don't.
I would ask, I'd go, who's that? Who?
Yeah.
Wait, what? And we would practice, and I'd be like, okay, they look like this, or they have this kind of glasses, or whatever.
Yeah, you were getting coping skills. I love when we have stuff when we're young and we don't know it until we become adults. So I have dyslexia and severe ADD. I just say ADD because my leg's not swinging. So I guess that's if you move around, it's ADHD. But my son that struggled, Charlie, and we're taking him doctor to doctor to try to figure out what was going on with him. And I remember going to the psychiatrist and filling out this really long form for ADD. And I was yes to every single question.
Wow.
And I was like this, but I was so excited because I was like, I've been navigating these things on my own, just thinking I was really quirky or thinking I sucked at reading, you know?
What a relief. It's a
And I
feeling
was
of
like,
relief. Like,
yes,
this is a thing.
it's something.
Are you kidding? This is awesome.
And I said to her, I said, I'm yes to, it was like, did you get in fights in grade school? Were you the class clown? Did you get spanked a lot? Did you? I was like, yes. And she goes, okay, well, we're here for your son. So could you come back? Which I did. And then the same thing happened to the dyslexia doctor. I was like, oh my gosh, all of these things are me. And it was such a relief to know it was something.
It's real. It's not all in your head. We think so often. It's easy to think because we all have to walk around inside these meat suits inside our brains.
I call them our earth suit.
Oh, our earth suit is beautiful. I knew you said
love
suit.
earth
I couldn't remember which one. Earth suit.
Meat
so much
suit's kind of a
prettier.
turn on because that means there's just like maybe big cock
There's
attached
big old
to that
boner.
suit.
Meat suit. Well, our earth suits, which is so pretty. I love
love
that.
our earth suit.
We're all walking around in our own earth suits, and we have to connect with others to find out that we didn't invent our own. We didn't invent, for example, somebody could think, oh, I invented what I'm feeling. Well, no, there's a word for it. It's clinical depression, and other people experience it, and there's all different ways to deal with it. Somebody takes medication, somebody does yoga, somebody meditates, somebody prays, somebody runs,
Somebody does all of those.
them.
Yes.
Exactly. I try. I'm like, I would love to do all of them, and we realized, oh, I didn't invent this. Or I remember I had this thing with my heart that I used to call the rumbly tumblies growing up. I didn't know what it was. I never just mentioned it to my parents because I just thought that every once in a while your heart would just bang around in your chest.
Wow.
And then it would go back to normal. And I just was like, oh, that just happened. So my brother a few years ago, I'm 38. Steve is 35. A few years ago, my brother's like, man, this is annoying. I got to wear a heart monitor for a couple weeks. They got to figure out what's wrong with me. And I'm like, and he's a nurse, so he wasn't too freaked out about it, but he understood everything that was happening.
Yeah.
And I'm asking him about it. I'm like, what does it feel like? What happens? He's like, yeah, my heart does this thing. I said, does it skip a beat? He's like, not really. Kind of feels like it just bangs around in my chest. I was like, what? And he got diagnosed with benign. They always say benign to not scare you. Benign early repolarization, which, as far as I can explain, is your heart banging around in its chest. It's an arrhythmia, but it's not.
Is it like a heart murmur?
Kind of. It's not really associated with an elevated fatality level, usually. It's most common in young African-American male athletes. Thank you, obviously.
You just same physique as you.
Obviously, thank you,
Yep,
obviously.
I see it.
Totally. And that's where it's most often found, because when an athlete, and I'm not sure, there's different theories about why. I think it's probably because a young athlete is more likely to see a trainer and a doctor and report something. If they're in the middle of, right?
Yeah.
With someone like me, so sedentary, trying to work on it, maybe not so much. And because sometimes it does happen in response to like if you've been extra active or if you've had too much caffeine. Sometimes,
yeah.
So it just happens. And then my dad goes, wait, what? You guys have that too?
Oh my gosh.
We all just thought people had it, but it happened once for my brother at the doctor, and the doctor was like, "Oh my God, this could be a lot. It could be a lot of things." And of course,
the thing I had like that I had my whole life that I recently learned the name for it, and I can't remember right now, but I'm going to make it up.
I forget all the time.
Misophobia or something like that.
Sounds.
Oh my gosh.
Sensitivity to sounds.
It's actually, someone gave me a book called Sound Rage. And here's what I learned about it. Specific noises and I have this.
Misophonia.
Misophonia.
Because it's the phone, the hearing.
So there's something that happened. Well, it's the wiring of from the ear. It's supposed to go to the ear part of the brain to kind of tell what's going on. There's a nerve that goes into the anger pain center, and specific quiet noises triggers it. And for me, it's like, and when I joke about it and then people do it, like when I tell them what my things
not
are.
gonna do it, I promise.
Well, they do it, and it has such a thing on my body that I get instantly angry.
Is it eating
And they don't
sounds?
know it. Well, mine is gum.
Oh, okay.
So mine's like, even when I see someone unwrap gum, my body starts to hurt because I know what's about to happen. So people will start to put in gum, and I'm just, I'll say, well, if I'm in a movie theater and I hear, I'm like, and then I'm like, Dave, and I'll start turning around looking. He's like, oh no, where is it? I'm like 2 rows back, 5 people down. And he's like, can you deal with it? I go, no. So I'll go over and say, is there any way you could spit your gum out, please? And they usually go, fuck you.
Yeah.
And then I go, I have to move. Because what will happen is there will be that Atmos or whatever the sound system that's so
super powerful.
shakes
and
the whole.
that's what you can hear.
All I can hear is,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
You don't watch ASMR videos, I bet. The relaxation
No.
videos. Right. Yeah. My friends with misophonia, I don't have a lot of friends, but I have 2 friends who realized they had it because people kept saying, watch these ASMR videos.
And
And
it
they're
was-
like, I can't. The eating ones make me want to die.
No,
And-
but
they panic.
it's beyond fight or flight. It's like it's instantly to rage. You go to rage. So my kids my other one is quiet humming, and all of my kids are hummers. Oh my God. And I'm literally like this. Stop it! Stop it! And I try to go, hey guys, remember? Or my daughter sings, but she sings really quiet. So she's, I'm like, I said, sing loud. It's the strangest
Sing out.
thing.
You're going to be, and that's how you end up with a Broadway star.
But I remember, yes, it's going to pay off for them one day. But I remember my mom going, you brat, you, because she would chomp her gum and I couldn't be near her. But a couple of my kids have it.
Really?
Yeah.
Do they have it with
one
gum?
can't stand to hear me chew.
It's a lot of times it's mouth sounds.
Yes.
And that's interesting because that's where the way we first explore the world, right? As babies.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's some connection there. I find it really interesting. Like that it's the mouth sounds.
Some
intimate.
are keyboard tapping or tapping on, my sister's is tapping on a window or keyboard.
I know one person where it's, when you have corduroy on, which we don't wear that much in Los Angeles, but you grew up in cold weather climate.
Well, I was
So
going to say
did
a lot
I.
and I think back with the thick glasses and stand up, the guys wore a lot of corduroy pants back in the day
Oh my
too.
God. I have a friend who, the sound that they cannot stand, 2 sounds. One is when the windows open a little bit when you're driving fast, which does hurt, that
Yeah.
can hurt your ears. The other is when the corduroy, it's called the whale, right? WALE, I think, where it's straight up and down, that the ribbing,
Yeah.
ribbed for her pleasure, if you will.
Yeah.
So if somebody, instead of going like this, like along with it, goes across it, this person rage is what happens.
It's instant
anger.
rage.
It's like, and I wonder if obviously we come into the world this way. The trigger though, I wonder if the trigger gets implanted when you're a baby. Because you're having, I wonder if you're like having an episode and that you hear that and forever, that's the thing that's going to trip
I
it.
think they have nailed it down to the wiring of a nerve ending going to the wrong area.
But what's the it's a trigger that everybody has a different trigger. I think that's
Oh,
interesting.
I
It's
see.
very
I
real,
see.
but I'm like, so
It's just a handful of things though. It's quiet.
Yeah.
The key is the quiet noises. It's so interesting.
It's almost
It's like the most
like a
benign
danger.
thing can turn me into rage. I mean, my 3 things.
Yeah, and it's almost like a danger or something. Like when if you hear a quiet noise but you don't know what it is at first, you can start to feel.
No, I
tense.
know instantly.
Well, you know instantly because you know what your triggers are. I'm just fascinated by like how to. I want it now. I just want to like.
I can't wait
Now we
for
have
you
to go
to.
get another.
I can't wait for
master's
you
degree
to
in
research this.
I'm gonna lose my mind and come back and
Because
be like,
you're going to have all the facts for me. I could just set you out into the world to answer all of my questions.
I'm gonna be like, Leigh, tell me everything. I think something you and I both have is a deep interest in other human beings. I think it weirds people out sometimes when I'm very interested, because it's not just somebody who, you know, shines with a special light to me, like you do, like friends I can point out do. It's almost everybody that I'm like, how did you get this way?
And mine too is like, I have a thing where when I walk into a room, when I remember when I'm being mindful, I'll say, God, open my mind and heart and let me see the people that I need to learn from, and let me touch the people I need to touch in here. So when I remember to do that, every trip to somewhere is magical, because I know there's someone that who needs me to see them, or to smile at them, or to give them encouragement, or to share a story, or always. And that it's really been a magical way to live, and connects me deeply to what you just said, because when you first said having interest in everyone, I was like, I don't know if I do. And then I was like, oh yeah, I do. Yes, I do.
You're open to possibilities. It's not that everybody you go, wow, I want to hear your life story. But I think it's this understanding that we can learn from interactions with almost anyone. Sometimes it's just about how we react or don't that we learn from.
Always. I think I think every interaction is divine.
Oh, yeah.
Every interaction is divine. Not that I notice them all or react to them all or learn from them all, but just having that awareness, especially after someone walks away and I feel pissed off, going, what can you learn from that?
I got really mad the other day and cried because I was late. I was late for an AA meeting. I was 5 minutes late, and they had locked the door, which they do some places. Not all, but I hate that shit. But I understand, because every meeting is different. People run things differently, and sometimes they don't want latecomers barging in while someone's in the middle of sharing the most agonizing story or what have you. And some places just like to be on time. I get it. So I
just still hate that, because they're still just reading stuff at that point.
I know. They're definitely just reading at that point. It's like, come on, guys. We'll get to the something.
And
to
you
share
might
later.
really
I
need
a donut.
it.
Yeah, and I really needed it that day. So I sat in my car and I read this book called As Bill Sees It, which was a collection of stuff by Bill W., one of the founders of AA. And I cried, and I texted a couple sober friends. And I realized it was a very special moment, though, because I realized I thought, why am I late? It's not because of traffic. It's not because I'm ill today. Like, what is this? This was just a few days after I had to cancel on you, because I was like, it was a stomach bug can be a weight loss strategy. That was a gross day. Anyway, so a few days later, I'm like, I'm getting back on track. I'm doing these solid foods. I'm feeling great. I'm going to go to this meeting. And I thought, why did I delay? I delayed going. That's why I was late. So I wasn't beating myself up for it. I thought, okay, why did this happen? Why was I late? And it's because I was frightened. So I took forever. I really just delayed forever and ever. And that made me realize, oh, I'm scared of being vulnerable. I was scared of getting there. So it was kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. I had no idea they'd lock the door, but then I thought, oh, this was my lesson. This is a lesson. Okay.
And you took the lesson. You did self-reflection. Mm-hmm. You spent some time in it instead of just turning on your car pissed and heading out asleep.
Yeah. Which is what I would have done a lot,
Yeah.
Shit like that makes your life sometimes harder, but also I think better, because I think it makes us better to other people, hopefully.
And for yourself, that you took that moment for yourself to explore it instead of moving from anger or hurt, with it, which would affect the whole rest of your day. I call that ownership.
Oh, I love that. Wait, I've seen you say
I do.
Ownership. I love that.
And that's one of the things with ownership. It's owning your own shit to a happy life. And you didn't make it about the person that locked the door. You didn't make it about the meeting. You didn't make it about anything else except self-exploration and learning from it.
I did. And I saw myself starting to at first. And then I thought, this is about something else. Why did this happen? Let's take that sacred pause, take some deep breath, go in your Corolla and cry.
Hot.
It's fine if somebody walks by on the street in Glendale by this car dealership.
As you're weeping?
As you're weeping, they'll just be like, well, I guess she got a shitty Corolla.
No, they're probably walking by going, oh God, she's crying too. Thank God I'm not the only one who's sad.
They're like, someone's having a feeling, it's fine.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that's what that's about. Okay, cool. Okay. And that helped me.
That's good shit, girl.
Yeah, it makes you it makes you feel better, I think. And it meant that I didn't go and just eat McDonald's to try to feel better. Now, I enjoy McDonald's.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to eat McDonald's, I want to eat McDonald's because I want to eat McDonald's, not because I'm like, well, I can't drink, so I'm just going to have 17 Big Macs. Not that it would be 17, but you know what I mean?
Yes. And tell me about the not drinking. What did you notice, like, first? You just were happy to wake up not hungover?
Yes, I had more energy, and I was taking fewer naps, which can really throw off. I like naps, but it was throwing me off. I had more energy because I work in addition to writing books and doing comedy, my day job is doing digital marketing for a big nonprofit. And so I had noticed my energy flagging. I was not as present on phone calls. And when you're working in a remote environment, it's like a long distance relationship, but with a whole nonprofit organization,
right,
with your coworkers. So you have to really listen for verbal cues. You have to listen for the sound of someone's voice. You're not getting the in-person physical information about someone's communication. So if somebody's saying, well, I don't really want to do that, or if, let's make it vaguer than that. I don't know. Do we want to do that? Now, the way somebody says that can mean, I don't know.
I need some guidance,
or I need some guidance, or I really don't fucking want to do this,
yeah,
but I'm afraid to say it. So because you don't have the visual cue, you have to be very present.
So you're more present. Mm-hmm. What about your body?
Oh,
Did you lose weight?
People asked me if I did. I think I lost 2 pounds, but people kept going, oh my God, you lost so much weight. And I had lost weight. I'd lost about like 25 pounds the previous year just by learning to drink water and eat vegetables.
Oh, nice.
But wait,
let's take a moment with that because that's really big.
It's big.
She lost a ton of weight by eating a little healthier.
Yeah.
And drinking water.
Mm-hmm. Because this is so TMI, but I'm going to tell you anyway, and I'm going to tell the audience.
Oh, wait, is it going to be hot? Am I going to get masturbate position?
I mean, it's about a UTI, so maybe. You're
Hold
like,
on.
no, that's not
Let me sip on my tea while you tell it first.
So I got a UTI in one summer, and I had never had one in my whole life. I was like 35 or 36 or something. And I was like, I'm not sexually active. The people get these from sex. So I wasn't having sex with anybody. So I was like, well, what's happening? Did an elf have sex with me in my sleep? Was it a ghost? Did I have ghost sex like
again?
Dan Aykroyd in Ghostbusters? Like, what's happening? So I called the doctor who did telemedicine because it's the middle of the night. I'm like, the urgent care nearest that was open was far. And I was like, I feel really weird right now. And I don't know what this is. I feel weird feelings in my undercarriage. This is weird. So I call, the doctor calls back.
Undercarriage.
My undercarriage, my nether regions. And I'm breaking it down. And he goes, well, yeah, that's your classic symptoms of urinary tract infection. There's 24-hour CVS near you. I will call in a script. And
Did you wipe back to front?
Oh, I did. I was wiping correctly. I was killing it on all fronts. So I was really doing the work. I was like, ooh. So I said, no, doctor, it can't be that. And he said, why can it not be that? And I said, well, I am not sexually active at the present moment. And he said, oh, that's the biggest myth about them is that you only get them from sex. And I said, well, I'm not like sitting in a hot, what is this? And he goes, let me ask you this. How much water did you drink today? And I said, what? And he said, exactly.
How dare you?
He said, how much coffee did you drink? I said, four cups, maybe 5. And he said, and did you put sugar in it? I said, yes. And he said, how much sugar? And I said, by the time he said, you're not flushing your system.
Water
You're
is
dehydrating
like
yourself.
miracle.
Yep.
Isn't it so funny? It's like things that can change your life.
It changed my life.
Is chugging water.
I was like, my urethra feels weird. I'm going to drink a lot of water. And I hired a nutritionist, never counted calories, never made me weigh myself, any of that stuff. Even though that stuff's fine too if it works for you. She was like, okay, first I'm going to teach you how to drink water. Second, I'm going to teach you how to take some of the stuff that you're always putting sugar in and put less or substitute it with something else.
Just little tweaks.
Little stuff.
Little tweaks.
And it was, and it happened slowly. That happened over the course of a year. But then, so people noticed a difference then, but it was slow. With booze, I quit booze. And within 2 months, people were going, oh my God, you lost so much weight. I'd lost 2 pounds, but I had the
you
sugar
weren't bloated.
puff. I wasn't bloated. I really puff up, turns out. I had a sugar puff. I felt more alert and awake. I also was feeling more feelings, which I didn't like. And I didn't like feeling the feelings, which is why I would drink sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes me too.
Didn't like the feelings. But it's sometimes to have a glass of wine to take the edge off or help you sleep, that's fine. But I was doing it because I was like, I want to do something trashy and inappropriate. But I won't do it while I'm sober. So I suddenly want bourbon. Like, after a while, I was like, I'm keeping Bullet in business.
That
And
is-
so I was like, okay. But yeah, it made my skin
Yeah, you look
better.
glowy. Yeah.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. It did. I mean, it helped with a lot. It just, yeah, it helps. I cannot recommend it enough as a cosmetic thing. And I know that's so superficial.
Yeah.
But listen, gals and guys.
Some girl told me about a book recently, which I, of course, can't remember the name, but it was something about women and stop drinking easy or something.
Ooh, it was called The Easy Way?
Yeah. But for women.
Oh, okay.
And I started listening to the book. She told me, excuse me, if I got to the end, she was probably 98% sure I would not drink again. So I never got to the end because I'm not ready to be done drinking.
that's okay.
I'm enjoying it. But one thing it said in it is that alcohol is poison. And it said factually, there's not one thing in alcohol that's good for your body. And if you put in enough, you can die. And if you put in a little bit too much, it can severely affect your life and become an addiction. And they called it poison, that it was literally made like vodka and stuff. It's not made to taste good, or it just is poison, and people rely on it, and it's a huge, addiction and crushing people's lives. So I thought that was interesting to realize as I poured my vodka martini or my vodka soda with
I used
a
to
splash.
love vodka martinis.
Shoot, I love vodka martinis.
And I love an olive. But
Blue
yeah,
cheese stuffed olives.
God. It's so interesting to think about it that way because, there obviously you can have a glass of red wine and people go, they're tannins or something, I don't know, that can help you. And so some stuff, yeah. But it's the alcohol itself, there's no nutritive.
Nothing. It's just poison and alters your state and numbs you.
It's kind of like refined sugar. They're not nutritional in it. It tastes good.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel a little high. But it
was interesting.
not.
So I thought about that. That stuck with me. It's like, wow, I'm going to choose to put some poison in my body tonight and, go out with my friends. And it's an interesting thing. I think alcohol is one thing that's very huge in my life to always be looking at.
Yeah.
At the damage it's done.
For
And
some people it's food. For some people it's sex. For some people it's gambling. I come from a family where I've had friends or family members in, the past, I guess, 4 generations of my family, mine included, that I can look at and see diagnosed alcoholism, bipolar, schizophrenia, depression. Like, I'm not saying like we think grandpa had a drinking problem or something like that. I'm saying
for
like,
real.
like they, 20, 40, 50, 70 years ago, like having to, back in the day, you kind of got popped by the police and that was it. We didn't really have a mental health infrastructure at all.
And we still don't.
We still don't.
We still don't.
We still have, a lot of times that's people's first step to care is getting arrested for doing something.
Yeah.
Whether it's DUI or whatever.
And then you go into prison. But yeah, that's it. It's so interesting because I think a lot with alcoholism as well, it's passed down from generation to generation.
God,
it's hereditary.
we inherit it. Absolutely.
And also, if you go back and look how far back it goes, those people were depressed or they were bipolar or they were dealing with mental illness and it wasn't treated. You have to, I have family members who self-medicate with pot and alcohol almost every day just to get through the day because they are not on medication for bipolar or I know, my mom wasn't. And
my grandma wasn't.
Yeah.
And
so
I think she self-medicated. My theory is that she self-medicated with food and sugar, especially sugar. I mean, I think there's a reason why a lot of us have, a lot of type 2 diabetes in our family is because it's in the food, it's in our food. There's a lot of sugar everywhere. But that's like kind of more socially acceptable to be like, I deserve this cake, which you really might. But everybody reacts a little differently. And in my family, we're very prone to our blood sugar going blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I am. I'm hypoglycemic and have been since my 20s. So.
And still sexy.
Oh, yeah. Ooh,
damn, girl.
It's so
You
good.
have a lot of big thing words.
Wrong with me.
Yeah, right?
Agoraphobia, hypoglycemia. You
And the other one, the heart one.
Oh, yeah. Benign early repolarization. And everybody's... I was talking to my friend the other day who is a hemophiliac. And I was fascinated. I made her tell me all about it. And she was like, is this boring and academic? I was like, this is fascinating.
That's your food, girl.
Tell me how it works. Tell me about the bleeding. Tell me everything. Like, I just find it very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes I babble clearly on your podcast, probably running over time.
No. He did tell me 5 minutes, and I was just looking at you going, you're so precious.
Oh, you're a precious doll. I'm so glad to be here. This is 100% the kind of conversation I needed to have today.
Oh.
I'm excited it's on a microphone. But really, last night I was so just down in the dumps, and I have a great support network that's small but loving, and people I know I could reach out to day or night.
Are you straight or gay or bisexual?
I'm bisexual.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I kind of remember that. That's why I kept going like, you look really cute.
Thank you.
What do you think about how I look?
Thank you. You look amazing. I am a really good friend to have as a girl, and here is why. Because I'm never threatened by extremely hot girlfriends. You know, some women we're taught to like, you have to be prettier, you have to be thinner. I've like never been threatened by a hot friend because I'm always just like, my friend's really hot.
So when did you were you with men or women first? And then when did you go the men?
And still mostly men. You know, I've only had one girlfriend who I was committed to. I've dated women, but I haven't. And it sounds so cliche and so cheesy and so hippie, but it really is
I
about
can't wait to hear what you're about to say.
It's about the person.
No, that's true.
But it's true. It's
I
about
understand
person.
that.
And more often I date men, and I don't know if that's because I'm used to it or what, but but women, you know, it's everybody's kind of, people have their, so I always go, well, I'm probably like a 75-35 or wait, that's not right. 75-25. Oh my God, I can't count.
No, because I'll do that when I see women talking or I'm watching a woman. I'm thinking like, if I were a lesbian, that would be my type. Mm-hmm. I think that a lot.
And I think that's very common. And for women, we're a little more flexible, I think, in how it's like more okay for us to say that. And I don't know if guys think that way. Oh,
yeah, that's true.
We're just taught that. Like, we're taught that it's okay to tell somebody she's beautiful.
Yeah, because I'll say to my husband, oh, my God, look at that guy's package in those pants. And he'll say, no. And I'm like, please? I'm like, just look really quick, just a quick glance. And he's like, stop it. And then sometimes he'll glance over and it brings me such joy.
Because, yeah, they're not trained to go to each other and go like, your abs look fantastic today, like, or your face, you have been moisturizing, but we're taught to do that, and so I do, and so I try to be a good friend in other ways, but that is, I remember one time a friend was not meaning to be mean, but she said to me, how can you live in New York? She was my friend from college in the South, and she said, how can you live in New York City? There's so many thin, beautiful people there. Don't you feel bad? She really wasn't. I knew, but again, intention. I was like, she's not trying to be mean. She is expressing her fear because she compares herself to other women and feels bad. And I said, no. It's, you get to meet a lot of neat people once you decide it's okay that if somebody looks a certain way, they might still be your friend. And that's sort of and
it's okay to be who you are.
Mm-hmm. And it's okay
to look exactly the way you look.
And I was like, listen, because I also had a lot of friends at the time who were models, and I was like, a lot of guys send them free drinks and free food, and they do not eat it. So guess who gets it?
Yeah, hello.
I get the fucking mozzarella sticks. I'm like, you can get a lot from
I don't think
people.
I want a man who's sending mozzarella sticks.
Oh no, that's true.
I'll have a glass of champagne or a martini.
Some sort of elevated, delicious thing. Oh yeah.
If I could raise my non-alcoholic, look at mine. It says, "Let that shit go."
Oh, I have
to look at this every morning to let any negative stuff I'm holding on to go. Today, I'm gratitude that you're here. I love you. I'm glad we got to touch base, and I would really like to see your face more in person.
You will.
Let's set that intention.
Okay, let's set that intention together. I would like to see your face more in person, hanging out, having a good time, drinking things. If you need to drink an alcohol, I can be a sober driver. I'm like the sober sister at the sorority now. It's
I would love
fun.
to go out with you too in public.
Oh, it's very fun.
I'm very good. Me too.
I'm very fun.
I talk to everyone. So let's go out.
Be the most
I'll
popular
drink.
People.
You drive. Okay, and you eat the fried cheese.
Oh my God, yes.
I love you.
I love you too. Thank
Cheers.
you.
Thank you for coming. Follow Sara Benincasa on all of her platforms.
Twitter, Instagram, at Sara J. Benincasa. The J's for Juliana. I chose it for my confirmation name. And then I also have at Excellent Coats on Irritated Women, which is too long to remember.
You're doing a lot of stuff.
I know.
And then look her up because she has like 100 books that she's written, which I'm
5. But yes,
same
100.
thing. When you're still wanting to write your first, that's 100. So anyway, I look up to you. I'm happy you were here, and I'm honored you were my guest.
Thank you.
Thank you, beautiful.